Mic testing, 1, 2, 3. Ian Jarvis, can you please give us a shout out if you can hear us? Anyone connected online? If you can
Yep, I can hear you.
Great. Thank you.
Sounds good, actually.
Thank you. Welcome.
evening to those of us in Asia and Australia, and a very good morning to our colleagues in the Americas. We are starting the side event, so if you are not on your seat, kindly take your seat. It's going to be an interesting session. Yes, so my name is Ernest Echampong, and I'm the Capacity Development Coordinator at the GEO Secretariat. So today we have a very interesting session regarding one of the key initiatives, flagship initiative of GEO, which is GeoGlam. And I think right from the beginning of the side event, we've had the opportunity to listen to the issues that are driving us to develop information tools, data, and services to address critical issues. And one of them is climate change. We know the impact of climate change on agriculture. And so it is important that we have technologies and tools that will help us monitor agriculture productivity as well as improve decision-making on sustainable agriculture. And so today we are here to discuss more on capacity development, especially how it supports the effort of partner institutions within who are working on GeoGlam to improve and scale up the effort they are working on and what they are doing. For those of us who are not aware of what GeoGlam is, it is one of the GEO initiatives that is aimed at enhancing the use of Earth observations to strengthen decision-making, actions, and policy on food security and sustainable agriculture. And over the past years, we've seen successful cases of using agriculture monitoring tools that have been produced by the initiative to monitor agriculture in a lot of countries. It has also helped in terms of how countries can avoid crop damages and also issues of agriculture failure. So this is an exciting time for us, especially those who are relying on agriculture as their main backbone of the economy. So on this note, one thing that is clear to us is how we need to learn from the cases that our speakers are going to share with us and how we are going to use that effectively to upscale initiatives at the various national engagements. So on this note, let me briefly introduce our speakers. We have Esther Makabe, who is with the GeoGlam. She's the coordinator of GeoGlam, and I know she's been working on this national adaptation guidance for GeoGlam. And then we have also Just Tobin. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. So Just, I know him very well. We've been together working on capacity development, and I'm very happy that he's supported GeoGlam in terms of developing a capacity development strategy that will also be very instrumental in the work of capacity development of GeoGlam. And then we also have Kofi Asare, who is with the Ghana Space Science and Technology Institute here in Ghana. He is also going to share with us some of the application of the crop monitoring tool for observation data in the northern part of Ghana. So we have quite an exciting presentations, and yes, I think yes, I'm almost apologies. I think there's one name that is it Zan, right? Yes, yes. Hongwei Zan, who is also online. Thank you very much for joining us, and who is also going to share a presentation.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, so Hongwei is coming from the Aerospace Information Research Institute of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. So he's going to also be here with us to share insights on the application of the crop monitor. So Without much ado, I would want to hand over the microphone to Esther Makabe, who is going to share with us the overview of GeoGlam and also the NAP supplement that's integrating Earth observation into National Adaptation Plan. I think this is going to be an exciting presentation. So, Makabe, over to you, and we are looking forward to an exciting presentation.
Thank you very much, Anis, for that wonderful introduction to the session and to the speakers. If we could start showing the presentation, please. And welcome everyone online and in the room to the GeoGlam side event. We hope to get as much interaction and discussions from all of you. So I don't know how many of you know about GeoGlam, but we will do the quick overview of how GeoGlam started. So the GeoGlam initiative is, GeoGlam stands for Global Agricultural Monitoring Initiative. And this group was launched in 2011 by the group of 20 agriculture ministers. And this was to hit the call by the ministers to provide an authoritative evidence-based information to monitor market prices and to ensure around 2010, 2011, as you can see on the graph, there were huge spikes in prices of food commodities in the markets, but there was no clear way to justify if these price hikes were really if they were called for or if they were justified and if they were necessary. So this is what the group of 20 ministers asked the agriculture community to help with. And they thought that Earth observations can be a good source of information for this. Next slide. So since 2013, the group has been producing monthly crop monitor reports and sharing this with the community. So the community comes together and they bring their assessments and they build consensus, and then they produce summary reports showing the crop conditions in the major crop growing areas. The map you see on the screen is from September 2020, showing the crop conditions. You can see the red areas, Europe. We all know the drought conditions that have been experienced in Europe the first half of this year. And you can see, these crop conditions are for mainly wheat, maize, rice, and soybean. So the main crop commodities for the global markets. Next. And based on the experiences of the crop monitor for markets, in 2016, the mandate of GeoGlam was expanded, and they used the experiences of that crop monitor to build another crop monitor that looks at crop conditions in food insecure regions in Africa, in Asia, and other regions of the world. And this crop monitor for early warning looks at the crops in those regions that are at food risk and considers only crop types that are of national importance. So, for instance, if you look in South Africa, there's maize, there's wheat and maize in the western part of Africa. And this supports governments in responding to food security concerns that may arise, as well as other humanitarian actors. Next, please. So as I mentioned, the partners come together and bring their assessments using Earth observation, ground data, and they table these in an open discussion and build consensus to produce the summary reports. And the GeoGlam community has been trying to scale up the efforts and helping countries to develop their own crop monitoring systems. The examples you see on the screen are just a few of the countries: Tanzania, Kenya, Mozambique. We also have other countries that we are working with, Uganda and Rwanda and Mali, and many others that you will see from other speakers that will come after me. Next. Yes, and the mandate of GEOGLAM further expanded, even further, I must say, to support other international policy drivers like the climate change adaptation, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and the Sendai Framework on Disaster Risk Reduction and Early Warning. Later, we will see how we've been working with the UN Climate Secretariat to develop methodologies and guidelines and best practices to integrate Earth observations into national adaptation plans. Next. So we've had some success stories, and Uganda is one of the best cases because there was an impact assessment of or valuation that was done after the project. So a little background. Uganda was one of the early national crop monitors that the GEOGLAM community supported. And in 2017, the team in Uganda, disaster management office that sits in the office of the Prime Minister, they were able to assess and produce maps. And these maps were able to tell them that the crops are going to fail. And they had this warning 3 months early in advance. And with this, they were able to trigger disaster risk financing as a social protection measure to northern part of Uganda where they identify that the crops will fail. And with this, sorry, please go back. With this, they were able to, the government was able to save about 111 million US dollars in reactionary finances, I'd say, and they were able to reach up to 90,000 households more. And I like this example because it shows more than the economic benefits of Earth observation, you know, for early warning. By the government triggering this disaster risk financing well in advance, they were able to save money, but again, the communities, by receiving these social protection funds, they were able to enhance their adaptive capacities. In the past, I think people's, when they're hit by drought or other agricultural emergencies, they tend to use maladaptive ways of, you know, coping with disasters. For instance, by selling their assets, livestock, or selling their land. And this wasn't the case since 2017. And the government, through the Office of the Prime Minister, is very impressed by the technology that Earth observation provides. Next. Same as in Togo, so the Togo government approached one of our the GEOGLAM partners, and they wanted to provide social protection again to farmers that were affected by the COVID restrictions along the agricultural value chain, and the partner and the government of Togo were able to come together and produce a map using Earth observation and artificial intelligence to produce high resolution maps that identified where agriculture activities are going on in Togo, and then the government was able to target those specific areas with support. Next. Yeah. A more recent example is the Ukraine crisis, and GEOGLAM the Ministry of Agriculture approached GEOGLAM to support them to monitor crop conditions and agriculture production. And they were able to come together. Also, the community was able to come together and pull together these resources, and they helped the government to do crop condition assessments, planting and harvest progress and timing and locations, and they were also able to do yield assessments and forecasting. Next. And now to the GEO supplemental guidelines to the national adaptation plans. We've been working together with the UN Climate Secretariat in Bonn to develop materials and best practices, borrowing from the experiences of the crop monitor, the global crop monitors and the national crop monitors experiences that we've had so far. And we put this together into a guideline showcasing the best practices, the steps to go through to set up a national crop monitor for your country or for your region. And we'll be launching this in the plenary this week. So you're all welcome to cheer us up. Yeah, and we will be sharing a link to access the material later. Next. So bringing it all together, or looking forward where we want to go as a community, and that's all of us who are in the community or who want to join the community, that the efforts that we can do together. So we have the essential agriculture variables. These are essential information that help to monitor agriculture, to create an agriculture profile. So it is crop conditions, it is rangeland mapping, everything that can be monitored on Earth observation to create a comprehensive agriculture profile for your country. So combining this with data life, in situ data, best practices and management, we're bringing all these resources together to create open tools and open resources and open science to share with the community and to respond to the needs in adaptation, mitigation, and other needs by sharing these resources and building capacity around these resources. We also working together with the GEO Knowledge Hub to put all the elements that go into the technical guidelines and all of these resources that you see on the screen, so that they can be accessed by everyone. As already mentioned, we're also developing a capacity development guidance that my colleague Yost will be talking about, and the NAP guidance that I already have highlighted. Next. So to sum it up, we are always ready to support countries and share our experiences and knowledge in doing in applying Earth observations in agricultural monitoring and other applications as well. We do have a learning exchange happening early next year in Nairobi, where we'll have these crop monitor countries coming together and share their experiences and challenges and lessons learned, and try to encourage others who are just starting up how to go ahead. So if you do need to support us or collaborate with us, you can write to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Makabe, for this interesting presentation. I think what is key is the opportunity to collaborate and also to develop monitors for countries, because as we know, a lot of developing countries are fed agriculture. And so in some cases, when it has failed them. The key is, how do you know? How can you forecast ahead of time so that you don't invest money and these monies will go waste, or the investment will go waste? So this is a very important tool. These are very important innovations that countries have to tap in, especially on the side of agriculture on the field. Of course, the market component is also very critical, and this has been applied and we have seen the benefits. So this is very, very important for consumers. On that note, I think I'll open the floor for some few questions, and we will continue. So if there are any questions, please raise your hand, and then I will hand over the mic. Yeah. Kofi, please.
Thank you very much, Esther, for your presentation. I'm curious to know the specific data set that the member countries submit to GeoGram. Is it about NDVI information? Is it about crop health? What kind of information are they using EU data to monitor and submit information to GeoGram? Thank you.
So the data sets are diverse, and there is MODIS that you can use for NDVI. There's rainfall data sets as well. So how this information comes through application platforms that most of the GeoGlam partners have developed. There's the GLAM. It's called GLAM, Global Agriculture Monitoring. It's a platform where you can access all this data. It has a range of data sets. I can't remember them by heart, but now we have NDVI anomalies, we have rainfall data sets, temperature data sets, and all this. And we have so many other systems that use different data sets, but to build up the agricultural monitoring components that they're looking at.
Thank you. Any other question? Is it because we had lunch? Yes. Are there any questions online? Perhaps if there are any questions online, we can have them. Okay. So I think the lunch is working. All right. So I think we will swiftly move to the second presentation. I believe that because this presentation was so clear and then people understood what that means, that is why there are no questions. So are there any questions online? No. Yes. So our second speaker will be Hong Wei, who is going to make a presentation on building agriculture monitoring capacity in Africa. So Hong Wei, the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Thanks, Maccabi. Thanks to give a presentation about agriculture monitoring capacity building. Oh my God.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Today I will introduce the agriculture monitoring capacity building in Africa for us. I'm Hong Wei from Crop Watch team, Aerospatial Research Information, Chinese Academic of Science. My presentation divided into three parts. The first, I want to introduce what is the Crop Watch called service platform. The Crop Watch system is a global agriculture monitoring.
Sorry, Hong Wei, your slide is not moving.
Not moving?
Yeah, you did not make it in full screen.
Yeah, I think make it presentation mode.
It is more on my computer. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay. You could stop sharing and share it again. I think it will work.
Okay, let me try it again. Now it's okay?
Just a second.
Is okay?
Not yet. We
Oh
are.
my God. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it now. Good. It's gone back. Yes,
It is
it's
moving?
now.
Okay. My presentation includes three parts. First, I want to introduce what is the crop watch. Crop watch is a global agriculture monitoring system. It kicked off in 1998 by the Chinese Academy of Science. In 2013, it upgraded to an Alibaba-based code service platform. The mission of CropWatch is to enhance the transparency of global agriculture mission. This is also a mission for GeoGram. The system consists of CropWatch Pro, CropWatch Explore, CropWatch Projector, and CropWatch Bulletins. This is the address of us. If you have some interest in, you can visit this website. And every year, CropWatch will in general, CropWatch will share monitoring information with different formats, including vectors, raster, table, and pictures. In recent years, CropWatch provides the function of modules customization for users. This means the users, if register in CropWatch, they can use this function to select the suitable indicator he liked, and then to create a system for the own monitoring. And this is some product produced by CropWatch, including the agricultural climatic information, agronomic information, such as precipitation, temperature, potential biomass, crop condition, cover, and crop intensities. And recent years, we also make full use of the biggest data technology to produce some high resolution products. In here, we list three of them. The first is the global cropland and non-cropland data at 30 minutes. And the second is the global crop intensity data at 30 minutes. And the last is the global irrigated and rain-fed cropland at 30 minutes. Three products provide the fundamental support for the fast-scale monitoring of agriculture. And here we list the paper we published in ESD. So if you have some questions, you can download this paper and download data from the website. And each CropWatch will release the monitoring and analyzing report in our website for the users. So the users can access agriculture information of us with a free and easy way. This is a quality bulletin released by us in this year. So if you have some interesting about these bulletins, you can log in our website and download the work bulletins since 2013. And actually, every year on the support of China GEO, CropWatch will release the annual report on global crop production and food security analysis report. And this work will get support from GeoArc and China GEO. And this is some cover of annual report. The more information we can get from China GEO's website. And here I want to share some analysis information this year in the annual report. In this year, we found the extremely abnormal hot and dry weather happened in European, Asia, and all of Africa, and resulting crop yield loss. And droughts combined with the regional conflicts and the COVID-19 pandemic made global food production in 2022 lower than last 2 years. And we also qualify the contribution, crop intensity, how to improve the crop productions. And we found the crop land with multi-cropping partners accounts for 14.8% of global crop land, but contribute to 90.8% of our crop productions. And we also quantified the contribution of irrigation to crop productions. And we found that the global irrigated crop land area accounting for 23.4% of the total crop land area, but contribute to 41.4% of global productions. So this means if we want to increase the crop productions, how to improve the crop intensity and irrigation proportion can benefit the crop production increase. The second part, I want to share some story of us in Africans. In last 10 years, we built a cooperation network with African partners, and this the partners from South Africa, Mozambique, Egypt, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Ethiopia. And we work together tightly and do a lot of work in Africa. Today, I will show some example to everyone. The first, we develop a greater crop production dataset model. And this model, we integrate the statistical data of crop production from FAO and agro-climatic information from CropWatch, agronomic information from CropWatch, and LAI and NPP information from glass products together, and then use a machine learning model to build the grid crop production allocation model. So this is a flowchart of this model. And based on this model, we convert the statistical data to the grid data. So this this is data set of maize, wheat, rice, and soybean productions from 2010 to 2020. And based on this data, we can analyze how it change of crop productions in Africans. So that can provide really good information to analyze how it change, and how it's improve of food security in Africans. This is another case study from us. And last 4 years, we validated the accuracy of existing crop land data in Africans. And we found the cloud frequency, elevation, feed size, and non-cover type richness had bigger impact to the accuracy of crop land data. And the cropland data in North Africa has the highest accuracy, but the cropland data in Sahara region and the tropical region in Africa has lost accuracies. So based on this analysis, we worked together with a partner from Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Mozambique do the fan-scale cropland mapping in the Zambezi River basins. The Zambezi River basin is the biggest basin in the Southern Africa. We work together to connect the in-field data and design the model, and then to extract the cropland distribution in the Zambezi River basins. And we also publish a good paper in these regions. And after 3 years works, we finished this work and hand over the data to the Ministry of Agriculture in Zimbabwe and Zambia, and also in the Ministry of Mozambique. So this is some force of cropland data in the Zambezi basins and 3 countries, and the handover ceremonies in these countries. And this data provides critical information for the agriculture monitoring in the 3 countries. In this another study from Mozambique. In 2019, Mozambique was attacked by a typhoon cyclone Idai, and the heavy flooded many cropland in Mozambique. So we worked together with a partner from Mozambique, used optic and microwave satellite data to analyze the flooded area and the flooded duration, and provide the necessary information for policy making in Mozambique. And we also published a really good paper in the environment, remote sensing of environment. So this is some result of us. And in Mozambique, we also do the capacity building of agriculture in Mozambique, and this work gets support from World Bank. And we work together. We work together and customize the copper watch for Mozambique with a polyglot language interface. And monitoring area covers all provinces and districts in Mozambique. And these systems can provide necessary information such as the crop condition and agroclimatic information for Mozambique. So this is some force we do the field trip and training courses. And actually we provide at least 5 training courses for the partner of Mozambique in Beijing and in Mozambique. And the staff from Mozambique use this system and to generate a lot of monitoring information, and then integrate the crop condition information into the national bulletins. So this is a case study I show. Actually, the crop condition monitoring information integrate into the these bulletins. In 2020, and this case study was proposed as the best ruler solution by IFAD. Actually, we also built we also launched the Lusaka International Center of Excellence, and this excellence provides the necessary support for capacity building activities in the Southern Africa. What we might do in the future. At the current stages, Crop Watch cooperate with UNCTD and do the capacity building in the developing countries, and training courses on how to operate the Crop Watch cloud platform for 24 participants from 12 developing countries. Samika, the director of UNCTD, said, "This is a successful case study of technical cooperation between South and South." And in this year, we also built close cooperation with the NASTA of Nigeria. In this summer, AirCast and the NASTA signed MOU. In the following years, we will strengthen the cooperation in agriculture monitoring based on the satellite from China and from Nigeria. We want to design a special model for crop type and crop yield predictions in Nigeria, and then provide the necessary support for the zero hungry achievement in Nigeria. And another work we want to do is to launch the attention yield gap initiative on the support from GEO and ENSO. And actually, this work we get support from ENSO and support for GEO projects. And this initiative, we want to qualify the gap between actual yield and the potential yield, and then find the major limiting factor affecting the yield, and then provide the advice to reduce the gap between actual yield and the potential yield. And finally, in next year, we plan to hold the initiative meeting in Africa and China. So today I see the Indigenous online. So we hope in the next year you can give us support to launch this initiative. And the final slide I want to share the call for young talents applications from ENSO. And actually, the capability of us get a lot of support from the young talents of Africans. So this is a new opportunity for young talents. So if you want to get the master or doctorate degree in the University of Chinese Academic Science, you can to apply this these applications. The deadline is February 15, 2023. Last, I want to express my deeply thanks to GEOGRAM, China GEO, World Bank, and other international partners, and also include the local universities such as the Cairo University and Zambia University and Johannesburg University and the Zimbabwe universities. In future, we want to work together to improve the capability in Africa. In here, this is my detailed contact information. So if you have some interest in joining us, contact me. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much, Hongwei. I think this is very, very interesting, especially when you talk about partner collaboration and how it leads to capacity development. This is clear. Also, the technical component of we are able to quantify actual yield versus potential yield. This is very, very important, especially for countries where in rural areas, agriculture is the mainstay of the economy of these rural communities. And so if we are able to apply these tools, it helps in addressing yield gaps. Also, you talked about the aspect of cropland mapping, which is one of the key areas that will be beneficial to a lot of developing countries. And also the intensity of crops in agricultural landscape. These are all important tools that you've shared with us. So I believe that participants in the room and also online have taken note of that, and then they will be contacting you for more details in terms of partnership. Yeah, so our next speaker will be Kofi Asare from the Ghana Space Science and Technology Institute, who will also share with us a case study on crop monitoring using Earth observations data over northern Ghana. Kofi, over to you.
Thank you very much. So this presentation will be on work that we began last year and that the funding opportunity we received from Newton Chair Prize project in partnership with University College of London, China Agricultural University, and some other partners. The work focused on the northern part of Ghana, involving about 6 districts in that region. And the focus of this work is to help us make use of Earth observation data for crop monitoring, for yield estimation, and also for prediction as well. The issues we face here in Ghana So we have a big challenge when it comes to agriculture in our country. Most of our population also depend on agri for livelihood, for their livelihoods. But the key issue is it is not yielding the needed result that we want in our bid to overcome poverty and also ensure socioeconomic development. One key challenge has to do with big yield gap when it comes to agriculture. On an acre of land, you expect that you get about five 1,000 kg per hectare or more. But in our case, on by our smallholder farms, you may get about 2.2, sometimes even less than 1,000 kg per hectare. So there's a huge gap. And when you try to understand these gaps, you notice that they are also linked up to issues of soil fertility, issues of water retention, the amount of fertilizer that is applied to the cropland. So for example, if you look at the average application of fertilizer in Ghana, Ghana's average is below that of ECOWAS, is below that of the AU. So if you're able to improve, for instance, the application of fertilizer, there's a likelihood that yield would increase. In addition to this, beneath this is also climate change and variability. Our farmers are mostly rainfall dependent, and we are dealing with issues of erratic rainfall. We are dealing with issues of late onset. We are dealing with issues of drought. And all these affect crop yield in our part of the world. Again, the farms are quite, in terms of size, are small. You have 1 acre, 2 acres, around 3 acres. We have few farmers doing more than 5 acres. And all this is also hinged on the availability of labor, because most of these farms are managed by the family, the farmer and his family. They manage all, and the owner of the farm. So it's an issue. They can't go on a large scale farming. Again, they have limited access also to investment, because it's risky farming, particularly when it is rain-fed. When there's any issue with climate and you are unable to have an effective or high yield, it means you can't pay for maybe the loan that you pick from the financial institutions. So our financial institutions are also not willing to give farmers loans to enable them to embark on large-scale farming, to enable them to buy fertilizer for their fields. So all these things are militating against farming, smallholder farmers in our country. So we also know that for us to really improve agriculture production, data is key. For us to monitor our fields and be able to provide the needed information for evidence-based decision-making, that is reliant on data. Again, estimating yield is also quite daunting and laborious, because and also quite capital intensive. If you want to go the manual way, you may have to enter the entire field to be able to estimate yield. That's not the way to go. That is not sustainable. That is not affordable. And therefore, we need to have an alternative way of predicting yield to inform policy and be able to estimate yield as well. And therefore, EO is the best alternative, because it will help us monitor crop health from the beginning, from sowing, germination to harvesting is done. Again, it also provides us with a means of having weather information at the farm level, because in Africa also, though we depend on rain-fed agriculture, our dependence or the use of weather information is limited. We have very very sparse weather station across board. So EO offers a better alternative. But in all these, why are we doing this? Others are developing these products elsewhere. The issue is our context and our situation is different from what is happening in Europe, what is happening in America. And therefore, if you really want result and something that is fit for purpose, you need to develop something that fits our context and our situation. Another key issue in our part of the world is issue with clouds. You have satellite data, but particularly from optical sources, we have clouds almost throughout the year. So that's also another limitation we have to battle with. But in all these, if you're able to rely on EO data, you would have access to data at a very large spatial scale and also at a temporal scale. We would then be able to do crop classification. Then based on that, we can do our yield assessment, which will be dependent on other biostatistical data set that is needed for diagnostic purposes. So looking at the building blocks, we believe that we need ground data, we need to also do with that in combination with crop models, combining that with Earth observation data and other computing techniques so that we'll be able to combine all these techniques and data sources and make it available to our farmers to our policymakers for planning and decision making, and also to help our farmers on their agricultural activities. So how sure are we with Earth observation data? To be able to develop an efficient system, we also will need ground data to validate what the satellite is giving. And once we're able to understand the difference between that, we can then do a bias correction, build an effective algorithm that would help us rely on Earth observation data and be able to do agricultural monitoring in our parts of the world. So key among the data set based on the research, you will need information on leaf area index. We need information on chlorophyll. We also need information of yield and also above ground biomass. So these are the data sets we picked last year. The work began last year and it lasted for a year. So we worked mostly during the crop season last year. So LAI will help us to really know and follow the critical crop development indicator diagnostics, and then be able to link that to crop yield, and then feed that also into our crop model so that it can use ground data sets instead of model data. Ground data is actual and it will fit our context. So we try to do that in combination of that, and also chlorophyll as well, so that we can really see how the crops evolve until there is senescence and then harvest is done. So for each field, we took data for 56 fields. Unfortunately, some of these fields were damaged by animals. The farmers at a point in time intercropped, so you have to also abandon those crops. And some of the fields also, the farmers abandoned them, the weeds took over their crops. So in a nutshell, we have to ignore about 6 fields and we were left with about 48. And on each 48 fields, we did yield assessment at the end of the season. And also we did measurement for chlorophyll and also for leaf area index. So for example, on a field like this, we identify 4 points on the field that best represent the field, not really relying on a good part of the farm and ignoring the other part of the farm. So we need to identify areas that could best represent the entire field. Again, there's a lot of variation on a single field. Mostly the fields are not uniform. You might find a place doing very well, other parts not doing well. And that also informs later that we will see that even yield on a one single farm is quite variable in our situation and also in our context. So these are some of the results that we have from the measurements. This is leaf area index. This is also chlorophyll. This is yield per the field that we measured, and this is a combination of data that we did on the yield. As we can see from the LAI, usually it rises up, gets to the peak, and then it declines. So the data on the ground really help depict what is normal based on literature. In terms of chlorophyll, same, it increases and then it declines towards senescence or towards the time of harvest. So you can see from the yield, from the various fields, it varies from the 48 field that we did assessment. And if you look here, most of the fields are within 2,000 kg per hectare, with few of them, just a single, more or less, I would say it's an outlier, being 4,000 kg per hectare. So it links up to the earlier slide that talks about huge yield gap in our part of the world. And these are some of our team members taking data also on the field. So we try to see the linkage. If you look at, this is LAI, and when we did a correlation analysis, we noticed that about 63% of yield is explained by the leaf area index, which is quite low. We're expecting a higher value. But again, we also understand that this is just a year's assessment, so more data will be needed. Similarly, we compare that of the chlorophyll to yield, and you notice that areas with high yield had high chlorophyll, and where yield chlorophyll was low, yield was low. If you did a correlation to that's also around 61%. So there also could be other factors that affecting yield that we need to uncover. Again, to build a strong system and algorithm to understand this relationship, we also will need longer time series data set to be able to have something that is robust and that is fit for purpose. So for example, for satellite data NDVI, we use the same thing also for the LAI and the chlorophyll. We initially wanted to rely on Sentinel-2, but we noticed that there were a lot of gaps because the return period is about every 5 to 6 days. And we have issues dealing with clouds as well. So when there are clouds, then it means you have a challenge. So we also try to use Planet, which was almost daily, and then it looks better compared to Sentinel-2. So even in relying on Earth observation data in our part, you may have to rely on combination of data sets to be able to produce something that is good. And then again, if you have a very high resolution data, it also helps a lot. So using the data, we did a crop classification map. The result is not shown here. We have the accuracy was about 84%, but we also wanted to confirm and validate our report with the crop match probability that is on Digital Earth Africa. But when we did that, we noticed that the results wasn't robust enough. You look at this part of Ghana, here it's not good enough. That the transition zone looks a bit better, but that needs an improvement, which means that we would require more time series data to be able to validate and be certain about the classification that we did for maize, to be sure of the result that we are having. And again, I did mention earlier that we combining ground data with crop models and with EO data and also using data simulation techniques. So we can use the DA to do a lot of simulations, but you use the ground data, which are the black dots, to correct them, to take part that is being predicted well by the simulation method. And based on that, you can then come out with the yield estimation per the field. So it's a blend of the model predictions and also that of the ground data set that we are taking, all the observations. And once we're able to do that, we can then look at a particular field of interest and then be able to come out with the yield estimation, combining the leaf area index data we had, the yield, and also the chlorophyll data. So you can see from this field, there's a single field, but you can notice the variations in terms of yield. This part of the field yield is high, but on the same field, this part yield is quite low. There's quite variations that we need to help our farmers to address. So in the long run, we want to build a crop monitoring or explorer where farmers can go input their data and then they can have information about their yield from the beginning of the season to the end of the season and build a platform for decision making by policymakers for our country, Ghana. Beyond this, we have learned that the data set, a year's data set would not be enough. So what we hope to do is to continue with the data collection. Currently, we are not funded, but we think this work is quite important and we need to sustain it as well. And therefore, we are doing our part as a nation, as an institution. We continue with the data collection, and we hope we can get support from other partner institutions who are willing to come together to help us do it together. So for this year, we increased the farms to, instead of 50 to 100. And out of the 100 fields that we are working on now, we are taking the biophysical data, that is leaf area index and chlorophyll for 50 of these fields. And on these fields, because we want to link yield to LAI and chlorophyll, we also will do yield assessment for these 50 fields. And there are another set of 50 fields that we are only doing yield assessment so that we can, we wish to have done the collected biophysical data for all, but there are quite limitation in terms of instrument and in terms of time and cost. But the yield data will help us, and then we can use the remaining 50 also to do some validation work. And when we have the good time series data, then we can build a crop monitoring system for the country where we can monitor crop health, where we can do yield prediction and also estimation. So we have learned some lessons. We are saying that the smallholder farms in our part of the world are very heterogeneous, and but there are variations on these fields, but they can be addressed with crop models, in the combination with earth observation data. And therefore, data is a challenge. That's why we need to observe data to help us do this work. Another challenge might be clouds, since we are using optical data sets. So that is also another challenge that we are having. But there are alternatives. Like I said earlier, different data sources, like from Planet, a combination of them will help offset each other, and we can leverage on their strength to be able to build a good monitoring system. Lastly, field data I've been highlighting is key, and therefore we need to continue to collect data, and we are happy to partner with local and international institutions to make sure this work gets done to help bring development to our country and to the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kofi, for this amazing presentation. I think we've learned a lot from the application of Earth observation data for monitoring agriculture cropping in the northern part of Ghana. Hopefully we get to upscale this to other parts of the country because as you said, there are a lot of diverse agroecological zones, and so it would be good to also give us insight later on when you are embarking on an upscaling effort. Thank you once again. Yes, so petit à petit, the French will say. We are moving on. So do we have questions? Any feedback, response to the presentations? Yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Ludgrim from the Netherlands Space Office, and I'm really impressed by your work. The challenge, I think, with this, let's say, bringing services to farmers is even much further beyond only research and the crop management. I don't know if you have any ideas how you would like to proceed with that, but if you would like to more about, let's say, the insights that we have gained in 25 projects in 15 countries, I would suggest that we meet, let's say, after this meeting, and I can tell you a little bit about our program. It's called the GEO Data for Agriculture and Water, and some of them you may know about it. If others are interested, you can come to me.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Yes. Any other feedback or comment? This lunch. Anyway, yes. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Kofi. Great talk, Kofi. When you have a question, please put it in chat. Yes. Yes. Just put it on the chat. We are going to read it. If you have a question, please put it on the chat. We will read it. Thank you very much, Kofi. I think the Ghanaian meals are too heavy for people. Yeah, so they're not working. I think they are a little bit busy too. Okay, thank God. We have one question or remark from the other side. Let me bring. So please mention your name and where you're coming from and your question or comment.
Thank you very much. I am Karen Asawa. I am from Uganda. I was part of the Women in GIS Uganda we had yesterday. You mentioned that you're having a challenge of cloud cover, especially from the set, which of course is known that if you're using satellite data, you usually have cloud cover challenges. But have you tried using drones in some of your projects to collect data that makes definitely not have that challenge? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've considered that option, but if you want to scale up, drone offers a limitation. It means you have to fly drones on all the fields almost every 5 days. It is quite expensive. So It's something we can do on a smaller scale, but we want to really face the challenge with satellite data, try to overcome it so that when we have scaling, it becomes easier. But certainly, it offers us an alternative. But we think the cost involved might not be a way that we are considering. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have one more? All right. So, thank you, Kofi, once again. Oh, okay. People are working the lunch. Ooh.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I found it very educative. As someone also, I'm also interested in getting more involved in agri with regards to remote sensing. I wanted to know whether there were studies, you made mention of crop yield, crop health, and whether also, I wanted to know whether there were studies as to how anthropogenic activities like human activities such as mining and maybe difference in land uses from the human aspects or from the human elements, whether that is also something you study with regards to crops and how that could affect yield over time.
Thank you very much. In fact, the focus of this work was just the crops. So we only made arrangement through our agric extension agents to deal with the farmers. So we didn't look at these external factors as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kofi. We will move to our final presentation, and that will be given by Just, looking at the capacity development approach and best practices of GeoGlam. So Just, please take over.
Thank you. So thank you, Ernest, for inviting me. I will try to make this a little bit more light. So my name is Joost. I'm a senior policy officer capacity development at the University of Twente, ITC. But I also work virtually for the GEO Secretariat as the impact design officer. I have the pleasure to announce the publication of a new document prepared by GeoGlam, but I do that on behalf of two co-chairs of the Capacity Development Working Group. One is Andy Nelson, full professor at ITC, and the other one is Elisa Whitcraft. They unfortunately are not capable of being here in this conference, so they have asked me to present the publication of the new document. So the objective of this session is that we formally would like to launch the guidance document on good practices for designing, implementing, and evaluating capacity development interventions in GeoGlam. I was hoping, Ernest, for some drinks and snacks, but I don't see any. Yeah, okay, we can do that at the end. So you find the QR code over there and the website where you can find this new guidance document. So maybe no need to explain to you the whole governance of GeoGlam, but more importantly is that we have a capacity development working group, and they were responsible to prepare this guidance document. Next. So the focus will be on the capacity development working group. So the capacity development working group, what is they doing? They have two main roles and some responsibilities. So one is that they have to reflect on the strategy for capacity development. They organize materials and resources that can be reused by different actors. And what they do is also engaging with other working groups related to capacity development. Next one, please. So you already have seen some nice examples of what GeoGlam is doing and some kind of some case studies. But we always thought that it might be important to have some guidance when it comes to these initiatives to really see if the interventions have been designed and implemented and evaluated in the best way to make the best use of all resources available, financial and human resources. So we saw that there is a growing need to have a better understanding of how can we develop those capacity development interventions. And that was the reason that we said, okay, there should be a guidance document with some principles, tools that can support the different initiatives when developing their activities. Next slide, please. So just presenting briefly the outline of the guidance document. The first part is an introduction. Why do we have this document? What was the reason behind it? And also who is the audience of this guidance document? Next. So we would like to use it for different purposes. It can be used on the individual level, it can be used by the institutes, it can be used by a project, it can be used on different levels, but it is mainly to provide support on the whole design processes. Next one. So around the capacity development strategy of GeoGlam, we have a number of principles related to it. It is mainly on leveraging existing initiatives. It is about co-creation. It is, and it was already mentioned, it should be fit for purpose. It depends on the context in which you are working. So there are a number of principles that guide the further description of the guidance document. Next, please. There was a decision made by GeoGlam to use one specific model, and for some of you, they were in the morning in the Geo value presentation. I briefly mentioned that the theory of change model that can be used next to, for example, a logical framework. So in the document, we try to explain what is the model about, what are the different steps when you want to apply that theory of change, what are the different steps when you try to involve other stakeholders or other actors. So there is an explanation of the theory of change. I don't go into detail now. And there is an explanation on the different steps within the impact pathway that can be used in the theory of change. So there is an explanation on that. Then the next section is really providing practical tools. So how you can use that theory of change model in the different steps. And there are a number of tools that you can use. It is about stakeholder mapping. It is about needs assessment. It is about different tools that can be directly used. Next slide, please. And finally, you can find some very nice examples on how that theory of change has been applied already by some of the GeoGlam projects. And the nice thing I think is that the case studies have a very logical sequence. We always ask to fill in a specific template where the different project leaders explain what is the problem they would like to tackle, what is the expected impact of the capacity development intervention, who are involved, what are the stakeholders, the main outcomes of the capacity development initiative, what are the actions, what are the outputs, what are the resources needed. Then the final one is about the lessons learned and presenting some possibilities or opportunities for the upscaling of the results. Next one. So this is in a nutshell the guidance document on capacity development. It has been developed for GeoGlam community, but within GEO we are working already on making it a more generic document so it can be used not only for GeoGlam but for all the other GEO work program activities. If you have any further question about the guidance document, you can contact directly Andy Nelson, who is one of the co-chairs of this capacity development working group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joost. I think this is very important. In most of our discussions and deliberations here, and almost every country that we talk about when it comes to Earth observation use and application, capacity development is a critical component. And you just don't go doing capacity development. You need to plan, you need to effectively put in measures, and you need to be guided to have effective impact and results. And so this is very crucial when it comes to the work that we are all doing. So once again, thank you. I think if there are no more questions, yes, fantastic. Okay.
Oh, sorry, yeah. For the moment, it is in the English language, but yes, we are thinking of having it also in the other languages.
Implement, I mean, or to make it available to the French-speaking countries.
You are completely right, and that will be the next step. Yes.
Thank you. Questions, comments, feedback, online? Okay, we continue. So if there are no questions, then I have a lot of questions to ask our speakers. So perhaps anyone is free to respond to these questions I'm going to throw on the table so that I don't take anybody by surprise. So my first question is, in terms of all these interventions that we have discussed, all the case studies or the capacity development component, what is the need? What is the need? What is driving this effort towards providing this information? We've had a discussion already on the challenges that a lot of countries face, but in terms of the need, is it coming from outside or from the country? And then what are the solutions in terms of the specific needs that we have identified? What do we need to implement? How do we design it moving forward? Because we are looking at a sustainability of the program, and that will require us to think further, not just now, but what are the measures that we have to put in place? What are the needs that have to be factored in, and how should we design moving forward? So if there's any anybody who can respond to this, please, the floor is open.
To respond to the first part of your question, I think in most cases, or I'm tempted to say business as usual, or how it has been, is that we tend to develop products according to our resources, what we have, what we are doing, and then bring the solutions to the countries or to the users. But as the case studies that we've seen from used, and also from the products that the GEO community is developing, we've realized that it is better that these requests come from the countries, and then you sit down with the countries and develop, understand their needs, understand their capacities and their resources, and then sit together in the design phase and design the solutions that will work for the countries. So the need, I'd say from the Joglam community, as I have seen it, I'm still new, but what I have seen in the community so far is that the needs are driven by the countries, and the Joglam communities comes together and tries to see the best way to respond. And in this case, you saw the crop monitors that we are supporting the countries. They are able to sustain themselves and run efficiently and sustainably, well, way after the external partners or the Joglam partner has left or has pulled out the resources. And I think this is a good way to go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I think sometime we might need a combination of factors as well. I believe there are some institutions or countries who already have felt the need and they're hungry and they want to do something. We can leverage on that strength and help them do that. For those who are lagging behind for varied reasons, we could also bring them up to speed, and then they can also come on board. There wouldn't be anything wrong if we try to convince them that this is the way to go. We need a 21st century solutions to our 21st century problems. And if you keep on doing the thing the old way, you will not get, you shouldn't expect a different result. We can also bring them up to speed. And once we have their buy-in, that's where the sustainability begins. Personally, they may even want to invest in themselves. And then after the partnership elapsed, they can then continue having built the right capacities to be able to sustain it. Sometimes in such collaborations, local partners may be asked to do particular aspects of the work. And at the end of the day, they might not have grips of the entire scenario or situation. And therefore, a gap is left. So in building such partnership, we should ensure that in building their capacity is holistic, so that when partners step out, they can take responsibility and continue with the work. And also, like Esther said, the solution should be based on context and situation. I didn't show you some of the map field that we have in Ghana. I want to assume in Europe, in America, the shapes of your fields are quite nice and quite very smooth. But in our case, if I show you some of the map fields, it looks like a human being, because on the smallholder farm, there are trees on the field. You want to make Earth observation application, so you want to have this the spectral signature of the maize farm not interrupted with other objects on the field. And therefore, you may have to map the field in a way that you cut out the trees on the field. So your shape alone will look very crooked and weird, but that is the situation and that's our context. And this is also applicable in other forms. And therefore, when we are building solutions, it should be customized to the local context so that we can get the best out of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kofi. I think we'll take the last question from our chat. I'm trying to see the name. I think Kujo. He said, I did not join this room quickly, but I would like to ask the question, which technologies to use for good agriculture monitoring in order to boost development. So I think you can take a quick response to this because we've talked about it, but he just joined. So just a quick one.
I'd have to say Earth observation is the best technology, but I'm biased because I'm an Earth observation professional. But I wouldn't say there's one that we would like to promote as the best. It's a combination of applications that you can use, and this depends very much on what systems you have in your country and how they complement each other with whatever technology or application that you want to use. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else wants to respond to this.
Great, thank you very much, Makabe. I think on that note, our time is up. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time and for your attention. I saw a lot of people on their mobile phones. I don't know whether they were tweeting the what was going on here. Yeah, but if you were not tweeting, you have a case with me. So once again, I thank you very much. Thank you very much to the speakers for these wonderful presentations. I hope we will have a conversation when we get out of here. Everybody, you're welcome. Thank you. I think there's also tea time out there, so please feel free. Yes, and the last but not the least, yeah, a group picture to celebrate our presence here. Yes, so I think for those of us online, we're trying to take a picture. If you are interested in joining us, then we will stand by you. So if you can turn on your camera, we can take some pictures of you and put them together.
you.